Hello everybody, welcome back warriors. So for those who are new to my channel, my name is Kiara Hernandez. I'm always posting mental health related content. I'm not at all a mental health professional, but I always hope that my videos will help fill you and guide you, fill you with light. That's what I meant. If you haven't done so already, please check out my other videos. Check if any of them resonate with you. And if they do, please like, share, and subscribe. And press the bell notification. That way you never miss a video. I don't tolerate any ignorance or disrespect on my page. There's nothing but positive vibes on this side, alright? Alright, so for today's Q&A video, I will be just answering these, like, really, I don't like prepping too much as to what I'm going to say. These are loaded questions, so thank you for those who did participate. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping to like do more of these as time goes on, but thank you to those who did participate, and thank you for those who have reached out to me and watched my last video. Honestly, I love doing videos, so I'm going to keep doing this for a while. But you know, we all doubt ourselves sometimes, so thank you so much for those who reached out and who sent their words of encouragement. It really meant a lot. I love you. I love you all so much. All right, so let's go right in because I don't want to waste time on these. Waste time because it's going to be a lengthy video. All right, so the first question. As a postgraduate, have you felt any anxiety and or pressure? I personally have been dealing with a lot of stress after finishing my master's due to the fact that I'm not in the position that I thought I would be. Sometimes I feel it was all for nothing. So this question, I can relate to 100%. So I went to Suffolk University. For those who don't know, I studied broadcast journalism. And got my bachelor's of art and sciences. And it's actually hanging on my wall over there, but I don't want to like turn the thing. But point is, every morning I wake up, I look at this degree and I'm like, what am I going to do with you? What am I going to do with you? Was it a waste of time? Now, honestly, it's crazy because here I am making videos, right? So I may not be working with news. I don't see myself working with news. But I definitely, you know, I feel more comfortable in front of the camera after what I studied. Editing, I mean, I'm not a fan of editing, so I don't really use a lot of editing, but I do know how to do it. And all of this is useful, especially with what the content I'm creating now. Now, going back to the question, I think there are always moments where you're going to question yourself, right? And you're going to be like, did I do this all for nothing? Especially if you're not where you want to be. So, you know, I graduated 2018 and I see a lot of my friends doing incredible things, and it looks like they have, you know, like they know where they're going. And then I sit back and reflect on myself, and while seeing others that seem to have it all figured out, and when I'm here like, you know, wow, like everyone seems to have a sense of direction and I don't. Because I really don't. I know I like mental health, but that's not what I studied. So I'm in like a place where there are so many times where I'm like, did I do it for nothing? And no, honestly, I could tell you right now that you should never feel like you did it for nothing. No, not at all. Because even if you don't use a degree, or let's say for those who, you know, didn't go to college, because not everyone goes to college, right? But never feel like your accomplishments are for nothing, because honestly they're always something. They always have value, even if you don't see it, especially if you're putting so much time and energy into something. It always comes back. All the energy, all the time, all the effort you put into something always comes back around when you least expect it. So never feel like you did something for nothing. And when it comes to anxiety and pressure, yeah, for sure. I mean, I suffer from anxiety. So yeah, anxiety and pressure is something I suffer with every single day. But when talking about like post graduation. Like, yeah, I feel like we're supposed to know what we're going to do, right? We're supposed to know what, you have a degree now, like what is your next step? And we feel like we need to have our career figured out just because we got our degree. That's not true. There's so many people who study and end up doing something completely different. You never know where life is going to take you. But that stress and anxiety is very real. It's so real. Where I think there's so many of us who graduated college and we feel like we don't have our shit together, right? But we have our whole lives ahead of us to figure it out. Even though me myself, I can't be a hypocrite. There are moments where I'm like, oh my God, time is ticking. I need to have it figured out. But we have time, you know what I mean? And every step you're taking after you cross that stage is going to lead you to where you have to be. Even if you're confused right now. I think we're all kind of lost right now, but you'll figure it out eventually. And never ever feel like what you did was for nothing, because I can promise you, you put in that work, you put in all that energy, all that work, you put your heart and soul into something, it's going to come back to you. I can promise you, and you're going to be successful in whatever you do. Next question. What are some good exercises that calm you down mentally? So when I'm feeling anxious or when I feel like in my head, I love to write. I get it. We all have different outlets. So writing might not be your thing. It might be reading. I've been getting into reading a lot lately, but my favorite pastime is coloring books. So I think I've posted before my coloring books, and like, I love to just be able to put everything up here onto paper or onto art. So anything that requires me like putting it onto paper, like, it's just really helpful for me. So sorry, there's like noise out there. So for me, if you good? All right. So definitely stuff like that work for me. It's not for everybody, but I definitely feel like coloring books are something everyone should do because it's so fun. And with some good tunes in the back. Yep. But if we're talking about more of like not something physical, well, not something like activity wise, I think what helps for me is grounding techniques. So I learned this when I was hospitalized, about breathing and how kind of putting yourself out of your head up here, right, and putting it in an area where you can actually control it more, because you can't really control what's going on up here. Well, in a sense you can, but you know what I mean, where it's more like you can actually feel like you're having, because if you suffer, sorry if I'm like blabbering, but when you suffer from anxiety, it's really hard to get out of your head, right? Especially like, because if anyone who suffers from anxiety knows that it's a lot of like feeling like you can't breathe, like it's like a lot. So that's why I can't really describe it, because it's a lot. You don't know until you actually like go through it. So trying to kind of go from up here to down here, and that's what grounding does. It's kind of like you focus on one thing and kind of like focus. I should make a whole other video for that, but grounding techniques, look into it. It's more of like focusing on something and kind of being like, okay, I see that door over there. I see the doorknob. The doorknob has a certain kind of design to it. The design is kind of antique style. The doorknob is made out of metal. Might be, it's kind of like really breaking down something, and all your focus is on that. It's not really on what's going up here, right? It's really just grounding you, bringing you back to a level of, being down here as to up here. So that's what grounding techniques are. Look into it. Breathing exercises work a lot too. Controlling your breathing. Definitely all things that have helped me. So, but everyone's different. How do you deal with toxic family members personally? Oh, this is a good one. Toxic family members. So we all have had somewhat. You can't sit here and tell me you have never had toxicity in your family. Whether it's close family members, you know, or far. I think we've all dealt with toxicity in our families. For me, I lived with my parents at some point, and it was, they're gonna hate me because I'm not really calling them toxic, although they kind of are. But at that point in my life, they weren't the greatest people that I wanted to be surrounded with in that point in my life. Because we're not all perfect, right? So my mother and father weren't perfect. Their relationship wasn't perfect. So I grew up seeing all this, right? And so I dealt with it firsthand, where it really took a toll on me, and I couldn't wait to go to college to get away from it all. And I realized that although I escaped the environment, I still wasn't happy as I thought I would be. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because a lot of people think, okay, if I move far away, I mean, it helps. I can tell you it has helped me, like me moving out and finding my own place and being on my own. I love having my own niche and being in my own space. It's helpful, but it's not everything. I feel like even though you run away from the toxicity, you need to be able to accept things for how they are, and also I think at that point in my life I wanted to have so much control over situations that I had no control over. Like, you know, what can I do to make this family better? What can I do to, and there are things you can't do, you know, because we're all individual people, you know, like you might think that you're helping a situation when in reality these other two people, so in my case it was my mom and dad, they had their own situations going, you know what I mean? So I really think that the most important thing on how to deal with toxic family members is creating that space for yourself. Like I said, it doesn't have to be moving out, just creating that space where, and setting boundaries, right? So let's say if you're living with your parents, and you know, you feel like there's always this constant like tension, right? And I think just telling, you know, your parents or telling your family member, like, listen, I need this space to cool off. I need this space for me right now. Setting those boundaries where you don't have to deal with it if you don't want to. And also I would have to say, so definitely creating space, and also it all comes back to self-reflection, right? You can't really change other people. You can only change yourself. And for me, I had to learn that. I wanted to so bad change my family members. And I realized that you can't do that. You can only change yourself, and you can only be better for yourself, right? You can't really control, you have no control over other people's lives, only your own. So the way you go about handling a situation that may be toxic, you know, I hope that you're able to actually navigate your way through it and really break it down as to why it's toxic. Have a talk with those family members. Sometimes you'll be surprised that they're actually understanding. Sometimes they're not, and you have to keep it moving, right? It's a different scenario for everybody. But for me personally, I feel like what helped me was setting those boundaries, creating that space, being able to accept things that I had no control over, having genuine conversations with my parents, even though sometimes they didn't agree with the space I was coming from, and that's okay. You know, not everyone's going to understand you, and not everyone's going to validate your feelings, and that's okay. As long as you validate yourself and you keep doing what you have to do for you. Do you ever just get tired of self-care? I don't know why, but it definitely feels like a chore sometimes. Good one. So self-care is a lot of work. Oh my God. So much work. So much work. And I definitely feel like sometimes it does feel like a chore. It definitely does, because there are times you don't want to do anything at all. And you feel like, sorry, I feel like I have something in my throat. There are times where I feel like I don't want to put in the energy, where I'm like, oh, it's just, yeah, definitely, I completely agree. Today's one of those days where there are times you don't want to put in the energy. And people think that self-care is just, taking a nice bubble bath, listening to relaxing music. And yeah, I guess that's self-care in a way. But real self-care is really internal work. A lot of, hold on, sorry guys, sorry, I hate doing this, but I'm gonna have something in my throat right now. It's a lot of doing work internally. It's more than just going, doing like, I don't know, going to the spa or stuff like that. Those are all self-care. That's all great things. But there's real self-care is a lot of internal work, which is draining. It's draining. It's time consuming, honestly, because there are times where I'm like, wow, I'm feeling really shitty. And I know I should probably put this energy into something else instead of just sleeping and laying in my bed. Sometimes you don't want to. And that's okay too. But I feel like where it becomes a problem if you're constantly not trying to put in any work, right? I get it. Depression does that. And if you do suffer from depression or not. But those who do know that depression and anxiety does that. Where you just want to do so much, but it's like you want to do so much, but your body's not allowing you to. So it definitely does feel like a lot sometimes. But I feel like even though you may have those moments, definitely take the time to do something that makes you happy. Okay, those moments where you feel like doing nothing at all, take the time to do something simple, even if it's just eating your favorite ice cream, right? That is still self-care. But on days where you do have the energy, definitely do that internal work. Definitely, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but even if it's writing, whatever passion that you have, take the time to do so. Take the time to really take care of yourself. I can't stress enough how important self-care is. But self-care isn't easy. And that's what I'm trying to get across, is that self-care is not easy. And there are times it's going to feel like a lot of fucking work, because it is. It is. I'm not saying anything. It's not a wonderful, beautiful journey all the time. There are times where it's going to feel like, fuck, I don't want to do this. Excuse my language. But it's a lot of work. But even if it's baby steps to get there, self-care is so important. If you don't take care of yourself, who else is going to do it, So really take care of yourselves. Really love yourselves. Be patient with yourself. And just know that even on days where you feel like you're not doing much, just know that I'm here rooting you on. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the steps you've taken, because each step is a step. There's no step that's too big or too small. It's a step. You're taking care of yourself. The ability to recognize that you're not feeling like yourself and you're putting in that work to make yourself feel better, that in itself deserves all the credit, But if you need a timeout, if you need a break, if you just want to lay in bed all day for one day, do so. But when you have the energy to get back up, you put in twice as much to work, all right? How do you talk to someone? So we're almost at 20 minutes now. So this is my last question, okay? How do you talk to someone or comfort someone who is suffering from depression, anxiety, or suicidal thoughts? What are the right things to say as someone who has not personally experienced this before? So, This is a really loaded question, so I'm going to try to break it down as much as I can. So, these are two different scenarios, okay? We're going to start off with a friend coming to you and saying, hey, I don't feel like myself. I have been really feeling low, not feeling okay, feeling out of it, and I just don't know what to do. Like, and I have no one to talk to. You're the only person I feel like I can talk to. And, you know, well, I just want to know what do you think I should do? Now, as a friend, you know, and the first thing you think of is, oh my God, I want to help this person, right? And it might be shocking to you, because sometimes, a lot of times where I've had people come up to me and talk to me, you know, I always think like, wow, I would have never thought this person was going through something, right? So automatically as a friend, you want to help them. So I think the best thing you can do in a situation like that, where they're just expressing that they're feeling down, I always ask, are you safe? I always ask if there are any thoughts of self-harm and stuff. If they answer no, you're like, okay, I'm really sorry you're going through what you're going through. And I'm talking as a person because this question says being someone who has not personally experienced this before. So I'm talking as someone who's I don't know much about mental health, just someone they confided in me, and I'm trying to be there for them. So I'd be like, I'm really sorry you're going through what you're going through. And although I can't relate, I just want you to know that I'm willing to do anything to make you feel as though you're being heard and being validated, right? Just giving them that reassurance that even though you may not understand, because a lot of people, they just feel like because you've never been through it that you don't understand, or you can't relate, right? So sometimes honestly, the less you say is better, because a lot of times these people just want someone to listen. So I think that's another important question to ask is, do you want advice, or do you just want me to listen? So definitely just asking them. Two most important questions I want you to ask. Do you have any thoughts of hurting yourself? You know, and also, do you need me to give you advice, or do you just want to listen? All right. So I think earlier when I was talking as the person coming to you, I said that I want advice. So if they mention advice, you give them advice, right? If they don't, they're just telling you they're sad and they're down, then you ask them, how do you need me? Like, what do you need me to do for you to feel better, right? Like, what do you need from me? All right. So that's the first scenario, right? You're going about it like if it was, you know, them just telling you, like a lot of times people just come to you because they want to vent and they want someone to listen. So you're just showing them, how can I be there for you as a friend? What do you need from me for you to feel better? Now, scenario number 2. This is really important. Someone comes to you saying, last night was really tough for me. I had thoughts of killing myself. I don't know. It could be anything, honestly, right? They inflicted pain on themselves, cutting, self-harm, whatever it is, right? But they come to you with this. And you've never, this is your first time hearing about it, right? Or like actually someone telling you like, whoa, like, and it's scary. It's scary, because I've been in that situation where people like, yeah, now I've had time where people have talked to me about it and I feel more comfortable handling it. But the first time I dealt with it firsthand, it was scary because I'm like, oh shit, what do I do, right? First thing, don't panic. Do not panic. The last thing you want is this person to feel like they're, weird, right? To have these feelings, or that they are being seen as different for having. You do not want to panic. Don't show anything. Show them as if they were telling you that they're just going through something, right? That's not. But just tell them, thank you. I always thank people when they're able to open up to me and be that vulnerable, because it's not easy to do so. It's not. So many people take their lives without saying anything to anyone because It's such a vulnerable place to be in. Always think, that's another thing, please always thank someone for coming to you and talking to you. That means a lot. That means they literally trust you, okay, for them to come to you with all that. Definitely thank them. Like, thank you so much for reaching out to me. You have no idea how much that means to me. The last thing I want is for you to ever hurt yourself or kill yourself, because you belong here. You belong here just as much as anybody else. And I am so sorry that you're going through that. Right? And the reason you see me so passionate is because, you know, it's a sad situation. It's a sad situation that people get there. And then just tell them, you know, ask them. You have to ask them specific questions. You know, did you cut? Do you have a plan? If they answer yes to these questions, you cannot just leave it like a regular conversation. Be like, okay, well, thank you for telling me, all right? Have a good night. No. You do not do that. The last thing you want to do is let that person go back to their homes without knowing if they're safe or not. Do not do that. If they answer yes to self-harm, and answer yes to having a plan, answer yes that they have been thinking of, so you need to get them help. Whether they agree or not, I'm sorry. That's literally a life in your hands. You need to get help. Okay? So you need to either call the National Suicide Prevention Line, call 911. Whatever you need to get help. Because that's no joke. And it's a tough situation to be in. And I think remaining calm throughout the whole situation is the hardest thing, because in that moment, you don't know what to do. You just want to make sure that person's safe. And let's say in that moment, that person's not in that state, but let them spend the night. Just make sure you never lose, that you make sure they're okay. Okay. Because it's one of those life and death situations, man. It's tough. But just making sure they're safe, making sure that they feel heard, making sure that when you tell them we need to get you help, right? Don't come aggressive. Just be like, hey, I really think that you just know that we need to get you help, but I'm going to be here every step of the way. I'm not going to leave your side. Okay? Just reminding them that, yes, you're doing this because you're not going against them, but because you care about their well-being. And a lot of people, trust me, people will be like, people will say, like, I trusted you, I didn't tell you so you could go, tell other, and tell other people, blah, blah, blah. You're like, no, I'm not telling other people. I'm telling mental health professionals that are here to help you. And just know that I'm doing this because I care for you. Okay? And trust me, in the long run, they're going to thank you for it. Okay? So, 3 most important things: making sure they feel heard or validated, asking them if they want advice or if they just want someone to listen, asking them if they're safe, if they have any thoughts of suicide, any suicidal thoughts, if they have a plan, if they're inflicting any pain on themselves. And third, thanking them for coming to you and just reminding them that they belong here just as much as anyone else, right? We all have our demons, but there's a reason why we're all here. Also, it's really important to remember that you can be there for a friend, but you can't fix it. As much as you want to fix someone, you cannot fix them, right? Your job as a friend isn't to fix the situation. Your job as a friend is to help them get the support they need, all right? And I've done it before. I've tried to fix people. You cannot fix people. I cannot stress that enough. You cannot fix it, okay? That's not your job. It's not your job to carry all of that. Your job is to help them get the support they need. With that being said, thank you all so much for all your support, for all your love, and for those who participated, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.